Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why the kindest, most selfless souls are often the ones left standing alone? You look at the world and see people who lie, manipulate and deceive, yet they seem to have it all. Meanwhile, the ones who give, who listen, who love with all their hearts, they walk this world in solitude. But tonight I tell you, being kind is not a weakness. Being alone does not mean you are forgotten. Stay with me until the end, and I will show you why your kindness is not in vain. My friends, the paradox of kindness is one of life's greatest mysteries. The ones who give the most, who extend their hands in generosity, who listen with genuine care, are often the ones left standing alone. You see it everywhere. People who are selfish, indifferent, even cruel, seem to navigate through life effortlessly, while those with the kindest hearts find themselves misunderstood, unseen, or cast aside. Why is this? Why do those who embody warmth and compassion often feel the coldest loneliness? The answer is not that kindness is unwanted, nor that it goes unnoticed. It is that true kindness is rare, and the rarest things are not easily understood. The world is drawn to what is convenient, to what demands little and entertains much. But kindness, real kindness, is deep. It requires thought, patience, selflessness, qualities that many do not recognize until they have faded from their lives. A kind person gives not to receive, but because they believe in the good of others. They see pain when no one else does. They hear words that were never spoken. They understand without needing explanation. But kindness comes with a cost. It makes a person vulnerable, open, exposed. It means feeling more, caring more, hoping more. And in a world that often values power over patience, detachment over devotion, kindness is mistaken for weakness. Those who give without condition are sometimes seen as easy to take from. Those who love without hesitation are at risk of heartbreak, and so they are left wondering why their goodness is met with silence. The truth is that many do not know how to hold something so rare. They take it for granted, or they take advantage of it, thinking it will always be there, until one day it isn't. But there is another burden the kind-hearted carry, one that is heavier than loneliness. It is the burden of empathy. To be kind is not just to act with goodness, but to feel deeply, to absorb the world in ways others do not. It is to walk into a room and sense the tension before a word is spoken. It is to see sadness in eyes that are still smiling, to hear pain in voices that laugh. It is to carry not just one's own struggles, but the struggles of those around them. Nice people feel everything. They feel the joy of others as if it were their own, but they also feel the sorrow, the disappointment, the weight of unspoken suffering. And because they feel it, they try to fix it. They try to heal wounds they did not create, solve problems they did not cause, give light to those who are used to the dark. They offer their time, their energy, their hearts, sometimes without limit. But this kind of giving takes a toll. To always be the one who listens, the one who understands, the one who stays, even when no one asks how they are doing, it is exhausting. It is lonely, because while the kind-hearted pour into others, they often forget to ask, who pours into them? Who notices their silences, their exhaustion, their quiet suffering? Who sees the strength it takes to be kind in a world that does not always return the favor? And so they end up alone. Not because they are unworthy of love, but because they give it so freely that others forget they need it too. Because they are the shoulder everyone leans on, but no one thinks to ask if they are tired. Because they are expected to understand when others do not, to forgive when others will not, to give when others have stopped. Yet this solitude is not proof of their failure, but of their rarity. The world does not forget them. It simply does not realize their value until their presence is no longer there to offer comfort. Their absence is felt more than their presence is acknowledged. And in that realization, something profound is waiting to be discovered. There is a great misconception about kindness, a belief that nice people are simply born with an unshakable optimism, that they glide through life unaffected as if their goodness shields them from disappointment. But those who are kind know the truth. They know what it is to be taken advantage of, to be overlooked, to have their patience mistaken for passivity. And one of the greatest struggles they face is the quiet war between their own needs and their reluctance to confront others. Nice people do not like conflict, not because they are weak, not because they lack the courage to stand their ground, but because they understand the weight of words, the lasting impact of actions. They do not raise their voices because they know what it feels like to be yelled at. They do not lash out because they have felt the sting of cruelty. So they bite their tongues. They hold their breath. They keep the peace at the expense of their own well-being, and little by little, piece by piece, they start to disappear within themselves. They tell themselves it is not worth a fight, that it is easier to let things go, to stay silent when they are hurt, to pretend they are fine even when they are not. They prioritize harmony over honesty, thinking it will keep them connected to others, thinking it will make them easier to love. But what they do not realize is that every time they suppress their own feelings for the sake of someone else's comfort, they are teaching the world to ignore them. They are teaching people that their pain is not urgent, that their boundaries are flexible, that they will always be the one to bend. And so they find themselves fading into the background of their own lives. They become the reliable one, the one who always says, it's okay, even when it isn't, the one who makes excuses for others, who forgives too quickly, who gives the benefit of the doubt long after it has been deserved. And while they tell themselves that kindness is about sacrifice, they do not see that sacrifice without balance leads to invisibility. Because when a person gives too much without asking for anything in return, the world forgets they too have needs. But there is another weight carried by those who are kind. It is the silent struggle of never feeling quite enough. It is the contradiction of being told they are too much in one breath and not enough in the next, too sensitive, too emotional, too caring, and yet at the same time not interesting enough, not exciting enough, not bold enough. They try to fit themselves into the shape the world wants, but no matter how much they change, they are always either too much or too little for someone. So they begin to shrink, they dim their light so they do not overwhelm, they hold back their thoughts so they do not offend, they make themselves small in an attempt to be more lovable, more acceptable, more worthy. But the irony is, the more they try to be what others want, the less they are seen for who they truly are. And nothing is lonelier than feeling invisible in a room full of people. Yet what they do not see is that their depth is not a flaw. Their kindness is not a mistake. They were never meant to be small, never meant to be anything less than the fullness of who they are. The world may not always understand them, may not always know how to hold them, but that does not mean they are too much. It simply means they are rare. And rare things are not meant to fit in. They are meant to stand out. There comes a point when those who have given so much, who have carried the weight of others' emotions, who have spent years being the ones who understand, who listen, who forgive, find themselves standing alone. At first they question it. They wonder if they were not good enough, if they should have done more, if they should have fought harder to keep people close. But then something shifts. They begin to see solitude not as a punishment but as a revelation. In the quiet, they start to hear their own voice again, a voice that has been drowned out by the needs of others, by the expectations placed upon them. For so long they have been defined by what they give, by how much they care, by how much they endure. But in solitude they are faced with a question they have long ignored. Who am I when I am not giving, not fixing, not holding others together? It is a frightening question, but it is also a necessary one, because those who have spent their lives caring for others often forget to care for themselves. They pour out love, but rarely receive it in the same measure. They offer understanding, but are seldom truly understood. And when they find themselves alone, it is not an indication of their unworthiness, but a chance to finally turn that same kindness inward. Solitude forces reflection. It strips away the noise, the distractions, the endless cycle of giving without return. And in that space there is an opportunity to heal, to grow, to rediscover what was lost. To realize that being alone does not mean being unlovable. It does not mean being forgotten. It means that for the first time in a long time, there is room to breathe. And when that realization takes root, something else happens. There is no longer a desperation to be understood by those who never truly saw them, no longer a need to chase love that was always conditional, no longer an ache to prove their worth to people who only valued what they could take. They begin to see that their kindness was never the problem, that their ability to feel deeply, to care genuinely, to love without limits was never a flaw. It was simply something that not everyone was ready for. Because kindness, true kindness, is not common, it is not easily found, it is not always immediately appreciated, but it is always remembered. The world may overlook it for a time, may take it for granted, may even try to break it, but it never truly forgets it. And when the right people come, the ones who recognize its value, the ones who do not take it lightly, the ones who see beyond the surface, something changes. The loneliness that once felt unbearable begins to make sense. The time spent alone is no longer seen as wasted, but as necessary, because it is in that space, in that quiet, that a deeper truth is revealed. Those who are kind are not meant for just anyone. They are not meant to be understood by everyone. They are meant for something greater, for connections that are real, for love that does not need to be earned, for people who do not just take, but also give. And when that moment comes, when they find themselves in the presence of those who truly see them, who value them, not for what they provide, but for who they are, they will know. They will know that every moment of solitude, every night spent wondering why they felt alone in a crowded room, every tear shed in silence was leading them here, to something rare, to something real, to something that was always worth waiting for. So, if you find yourself alone, do not despair. Your kindness is not a curse. It is a light, a beacon in a world that often forgets what it means to be truly human. The right people, the ones who see you, who value you, who will never take you for granted, are out there, but they too are rare, and the rarest souls take time to find one another. Until then, stand tall, walk alone if you must, but never, ever change the kindness within you. Because in the end, the world does not remember those who took, it remembers those who gave. And my friend, you are unforgettable.